Hello and welcome to a new update on the Neuraxon model. As you know, I have here a friend, and as you all know, cognition, emotion, attention, consciousness, and memory are all deeply connected to how our nervous system works. So the brain networks enable these kind of functions that we all know by sharing information in real time across a time frequency space in which the neurons are pulsing between different regions at various different rhythms. So this allows the information to flow from one neuron to many others. But we need to know, how does it actually work? Is this just a neural network, like a sort of messy tangle of interconnected nodes? Absolutely not. Despite the complexity of these connections, there is a clear hierarchy. This area is called V1 and V2, and here we have neurons that are just specialized for detecting contrast, color, orientation, shapes. In the auditory cortex, which is called A1, we find a tonotopic organization. It means that certain tiny regions respond to high or low sounds based on frequency. So once that this whole process is complete, we generate an output. It could be motor, because I move to another place. It could be emotional. The result of this perception could be feeling an emotion and being aware of this feeling, or maybe it could be the result or the output could be cognitive. Therefore, I may think, I may plan for a solution. So this incoming sensory information that gets to the second and third cortices and reaches awareness has or generates always an output. This bio-inspired behavior, we captured it and we converted it into mathematical equations. You know from the school that, for instance, speed equals distance divided by time. No? So, for instance, in our model, a neuron here in the Neuraxon model is translated into an equation, and importantly, that equation includes time, as for instance speed distance divided by time. No? So here our equations for Neuraxon include time, meaning that it evolves, it changes, it may adapt. But a single Neuraxon, although you all know it's very, very, very complex, because even a single biological neuron is infinite, a single Neuraxon isn't enough. We need to handle different kinds of incoming information from multiple sources. Not visual, not auditory, not somatosensory, not only taste. There are many, many different kinds of information in a human brain, but also in a machine or in some sort of engineering process, for instance. So we need the multi-uraxon, which is the new or the updated version of the previous Neuraxon models. And the multi-Neuraxon is designed to function with secondary and tertiary cortices, more complex cortices, and it's designed to gather and gather information from different single Neuraxons or from single primary cortices and convert into a more complex adaptation with the outputs. That could be, for instance, a motor output. And that's why we have built a multi-Neuraxon capable of integrating diverse signals and producing a coherent output. So to all members of the Qubic community, you can now explore and experiment with the model. So let's take a look at it in the browser. So let's go into play with the MultiNX multi-sphere, Neuraxon version 2.0. So here you have the brain presets. We have selected some spheres, one sensory that allows the information to flow to the association area and then to the motor output. One executive control sphere or node related to the prefrontal cortices in the brain. Some kind of loop. It means that you can decide in which way the information goes and flows and goes back. A global workspace means like a central executive where many spheres are connected, and the minimal structure you can play with are two spheres. So you may change this because you may insert new spheres. For instance, I'm going to create this new one. For example, it's going to be taste. So I apply the changes, and then I need to connect the taste sphere with visual information, for instance. So I press here, connect the spheres, taste into visual. So you may see the new connection. You could interpret this like, for instance, I see the food, and because I see the food with my visual perception, it relates to the taste. So I want the bi-directional flow of information from the visual also to the taste, which is more appropriate. But the taste should connect also with the central hub. So, for instance, I need some kind of connection. Let's see, taste. You need to rotate this in order to make it visible, maybe here. So I connect the taste to the global workspace. So this is my configuration. As you may see, you may rotate. You may choose more spheres, and then I may delete some of the spheres or configurations. I may save this configuration, and as you may see here, you get a JSON file, and then you can upload it for another moment. And if I play here, I may see how the model is working and how the visual information goes to the central hub, the auditory information goes to the central hub, and it goes back in order to have some kind of feedback. And then from the central hub, it provides motor output and solution, and I may see here the connections between the taste and the central hub, and the bi-directional flow of information between the taste and the visual. So you can create as many structures as you want for the multi-uraxon in which you could integrate all sorts of information. I can speed up the frequency of the model, for instance, up to 40 Hz, which is a kind of gamma frequency. You may see here some sort of acceleration and speedy movements between the single neuraxons. Remember here, input neurons, inner neurons, and output neurons. +1, -1, or 0, neutral, but connected to other many neuraxons. So you may see here the spheres, visual, auditory, somatosensory, motor, and taste, and the global workspace. You can add another one. You can play with dopamine, serotonin, acetylcholine, norepinephrine. So you can play with conditions in which this kind of behavior, for instance, you see if I erase the levels of norepinephrine, it's quite more relaxed. You may see the changes in the flow. You have here the links between the spheres. I could create a new link, for instance, between somatosensory and taste. Okay, so the model, I may change it here, and you can have a full detail of each sphere here. I may stop here or pause. I may use, for instance, in the taste sphere, many more input neurons, for instance 6, for the different kind of taste in the tongue and the mouth. So I apply here the changes, so we see a new neuraxon in the taste regarding these changes. You can export one neuraxon, or you can export here and save the whole structure. So this is what we are providing you in order to play and to understand the model. And now let's try another example. I'm not working with the brain areas, I'm working with a signal which comes from the heart, and another signal which comes from the breath, for instance. And in the heart signal, I may study this sphere and input only one neuron, hidden inputs, for instance 24, and the output only with 2 neurons. You may choose which kind of a structure and disposition is suitable for your purposes. And in the breath sphere, for instance, 3 neurons, 3 input neurons, 15 hidden, and output 4. And I may connect or not this kind of signals. For instance, I may choose some kind of connection between the breath and the heart. So the breath is influencing the heart, for instance. And in my model, also the heart could influence my breath. So this is my loop, and this is my newest structure. You see here with 4 spheres. If I play, I may see and I may model and quantify this model based in a multi-uraxon with 4 spheres. And of course, in each one of the spheres, I may adapt the neurotransmitters, the architecture, the status, the neuromodulation, as you may see here, trying to resemble some states. But I could change this model, and then, for instance, I could say that this is a signal for temperature, for instance, and the one I called before breath, now it's weight. And maybe in my engineering process, I don't need the connection between the weight and the temperature, or maybe it's appropriate appropriate. And then these kind of calculations are going to resemble an engineering problem. I may select, for instance, in the weight just one neuron input, or maybe one output, and many kind of inputs for different objects or whatever. So don't think that the model is only related to brain structures or physiological variables. You may use the model and the concept of multi-uraxon for many other problems that are happening in real time. So this is a kind of a tutorial for the Qubic community related to the Multi-uraxon, which is our second update of the Neuraxon model, and we are very happy to share with you our approaches. And just maybe you all know that this kind of structure and model and equations are been approved by ICMLT in Berlin, and this is our second scientific publication paper for Qubic. So let's go Qubic and enjoy the multi-uraxon.